Hello and welcome to my channel, Making Crafts. Today I'm going to show you how to make this Haunted Halloween peekaboo card, and it was inspired by Bohemian Crafter. So you just need a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. You can see I've already started making these, so I've already cut some of my strips off. So for one of the cards, you'll just need a strip that measures 4 inches tall by 12 inches wide. And for your first cut, you want to cut at 5 inches. And then for the next cuts, you want to cut at 3.5 inches, and that will give you 2 pieces. So one strip is all you need. So if you cut 3 strips from your 12 by 12, you can get 3 cards doing that. So for the first 5-inch piece, you want to score at 2.5 inches. So then for the one of the 3.5-inch pieces, if it really matters to you, or if you have direction on your paper, you want to pay attention to what's going to be your front piece, what you want on the front. And so on the front of this one, I want the stripes. So I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, and I just flipped it over and scored on the right hand side. So you can see that 1/2 inch will fold around my little card. And then for the back piece, I want the stripes to be on the back side. So I'm just going to score that one at 1/2 inch as well. Having the wrong side showing, I'm scoring on the right side as well. So now that we have our pieces scored, we are just going to put everything together. And this is a very simple card. And I'm making these for my Haunted Halloween journal. So this is just going to be an interactive inside of my Halloween journal. It really is not going to be a journaling spot or anything, just a fun interactive. So I'm going to do a little bit different from Bohemian Crafter. So I thought I would show you today in case you didn't have the same supplies as her. So I'm going to be using this frame die, and it's an oval, scalloped oval frame die. And so I'm going to use that to cut out my window in my card. So for the first piece, I have it folded in half. It's the 5-inch piece that we scored at 2.5 inches and then folded in half. And so while it's folded in half, I'm going to go ahead and cut out both of my little windows in it. But so just keep it folded, and then you're going to lay your die wherever you want on the card. I'm kind of centering it up from side to side, but not from top to bottom. I'm making it more up towards the top so that the feet of my little person doesn't show and more of the head shows. And so I'm just going to run it through my die machine, and this will cut both of your windows at the same time. So you can see here, so this one cuts an oval but also cuts the frame. So I am going to save the frames for later for another project in my journal, but I love the little scalloped edge that you get for your window in this card. So here I'm just going to punch out my frames so that I can put those aside for another project. So if you watch the flip through of my journal, you'll see how I use these frames later on in my journal. So I'm going to set my die cutting machine aside for just a moment so I can figure out where I need to do my next cut. So now this is the front piece of our card. Well, actually, this is the back piece. The front piece and the back piece look a lot alike, so you got to be really careful. So this is the front piece where it folds over on the left-hand side. So what I want to do is I need another window on the front piece of my card. And so all this will make sense when I assemble it. So if you watch it all the way through the video and then make one, everything will make a lot more sense. So I'm just going to lay my folded cardstock, the card piece, on top of the 3.5 inch piece. And so you can see this one has I'm showing you here, it has the score line and it's folded on the left side. So I'm just going to lay it on top, and I'm just going to hold the card over to the far right edge. And that's where we need to have our windows line up. So then I'm just going to, it's going to be a little bit touchy here, but it's fairly simple. If you use just a regular oval or circle or square, you would have been better. But with the scallop circle, I do have to find my little grooves there and then put it back in. I couldn't cut all 3 at the same time because this die just couldn't cut through this thick cardstock. This is Tim Holtz cardstock, and it's fairly thick, so running 3 pieces through just didn't work. So that's why I'm coming back, and then I'm running the third piece after the hole is there, because once those 2 holes are cut out, it's only having to cut 1 piece of cardstock now. And once again, I'm going to save the frames and the ovals to use in my journal. So now we have all of our windows cut out. So it's just time to work on our card once I get this frame set aside and saved. So now we have our back piece, and you can see here I have the fold up on the right hand side, and what I want to do is I want to lay my card on top, my folded 5-inch piece on top of this little flap, and I want to just take my pencil and mark where the window is going to overlap on the flap, and then I'm going to come in with my scissors and I'm just going to cut on the outer edge, and I'm not going to cut on the actual pencil line. I'm cutting just a little bit larger than the pencil line so that I'm sure that I don't have any of this flap showing through my window. And then I'm just going to attach my card to the flap. You're just going to attach the card on the right hand side. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the back of my card, just along the edge there, and then I'm going to attach it to the back flap. I really thought this was a very fun addition for a journal. When I saw Bohemian Crafter creating hers, I thought this was a lot of fun, and so it's really fun to put together. I actually have made 4 of these now, 3 of them for the journals and 1 I have given away. And the little character that I found that on Creative Fabrica, and I will link to that below, and I would really appreciate if you use my affiliate link. If you decide to shop on Creative Fabrica, that does help out my channel just a little bit. So now we're going to add the front card piece, and this one we're just going to line up our windows and attach the front piece, and I'm just going to add the glue to my front card. That way, if I add it to the other piece, there's a little bit of extra room there, and I don't want to have that extra glue on the back hand side, so it's best just to add it to your card. And I'm adding a lot of glue so this will hold really well. And then I'm just going to line up my windows. And like I said, if you use a solid oval, solid circle, or a solid square, it won't be as hard to line up. With these scallops, I'm trying to line up my little scallops. But I really love the looks of the scallops, so it was worth the little extra effort. So you just want to press everything down good, make sure you got it attached really well. And so you'll have your little flap hanging over to the side there. And I thought this paper looked really cute in the journal that I'm creating, so it worked really well. And I think you do want to use cardstock for this because it does need to be a little stiff. If it's too flimsy, it's not going to open and close very easy. So you can see here we have our flap on there, and then you have your back piece. So this is how your card should look at the moment. So if you've glued everything up right, this is where you're at. So now I've taken a piece of paper and I printed this out, this little character here. I'm not really sure what you call it, but I thought she was really cute. And so what I did was I just cut around the right-hand side of the image, leaving the paper, as you can see, on the left-hand side. So now I want to see where I want my little girl peeping out. And I think this is a little girl. So what I want to do is I just want to line her up. And I think that I want just maybe the one eye peeping out here and just covering most of her face. So once I decide where I want her, then I'm just going to trim off the extra cardstock. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm just going to trim along, and be sure not to cut that fold. Only cut the back cardstock. Be sure not to cut the fold of your flap.
Sorry, I had to move it.
And so then I'll decide if I like where she's at, and then I'm going just to attach her to the flap. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on the back side of the cardstock and attach it to the flap. And you want to just keep in mind where your piece lined up when you had her. So before I press it down really good, I want to look and see if I like where she's at. And then I press it. But of course, once I take a look at it, I'm not sure that I'm totally happy with where she's at. So here you can see, as you open it, it's working. So you want to test it to make sure it's working. But I feel like she's not peeking enough. As you can see here, she goes way too far over to the edge. So I'm just going to pull her off and try again. And so I left this in the video to show you that if you do make a mistake, you may not want her to be so far over. It's really up to you. So I'm gently going to pull her off, and all I need to do is just trim a little bit more off that edge so that she is peeping peeking just a little bit more. Like, I just really want that one eye showing. So I'm going to come back and I'm just going to trim a little bit off. I don't want to ruin my piece, so I just trim a little slither off just to see. And then I'm going to hold it by hand and test it. And I like that much better. I like where you only see the one eye and it looks like she's really trying to peek and hide. So I'm just going to now reattach that to my flap. And hopefully you get yours right the very first time. But this one is like the second or third card I've already made before showing you what I've made. And once again, I messed up with it. When you know, the one you film is the one you mess up on. But it's not really a mess up because I just go back and fix it. It's just paper. Keep in mind, it's just paper, so it's not a big deal. So then I'm just going to attach her to the flap. Make sure everything's working right. There's no little, hiccups in it. Make sure everything's running smoothly. So it is. So you see that little brown edge showing there? I could just leave that. But just like Bohemian Crafter, she covered hers up, so I decided to cover mine up as well. But with this paper, in order to cover it up and it not show, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go through and I'm just going to ink that edge really well. I think that by inking that edge when I add it, because I don't want to add paper on top of my fold line, because if you do, then it's going to hinder it. It's going to make it not, run smoothly in and out. When you're trying to open and close your card, it won't be as smooth. So now I'm just measuring and cutting. I think it was about 1/4 of an inch. You'll just have to see on yours. I think it's 1/4 or 1/2 inch. So whatever it is, I just measured it and then I'm inking the little strip up. It looks more like 1/2 inch from here when I'm watching back. So it may just be 1/2 inch. And so then, as you'll see though, you just have to lay it in there, see if it fits, see if everything's going to open and close correctly.
My hair back here.
And if it doesn't, then you can always trim a little bit off with your scissors and re-ink it. So now I have my card put together. The little girl is peeking in and out just perfectly. So I have gone ahead and inked everything. So now I'm just going to add a spider web onto the inside of my back, the part that you see through the window. I want to decorate that up as well. So I'm just adding a small little spider web that I cut out using my silhouette. And I found this spider web on Creative Fabric as well. So if you have a silhouette or a Cricut or any of those electronic die cutting machines that require SVGs, you can find those on the Creative Fabrica. They have all kinds of things, and so it makes it so easy. You just pull it into your cutting machine software and make it the size that you want and cut it. And so once again, I will link to all of these below that I use from Creative Fabrica, and I think that it's less expensive if you have a subscription. So here I'm showing you a die that I'm using. Now this die is from, I don't remember. I'll have to look it up and see, and then I can link below to it. It's in one of my earlier videos this month or in August that where I used it to create a card, but now I can't remember which company it's from. So I'm just going to attach this little banner to my card as well as decorate it up. So now I'm pulling out some tickets from Cara Creation as well as her apothecary labels. That's the journal that this card is going to go in. So it's the Haunted Halloween by Cara Brandon. So I'm using her apothecary labels as well as her tickets to decorate up these cards. And so I'm just trying to decide what little label I want to put on my card. And you can decorate these up however you want. And you could create Christmas cards and fall cards. I already have another card in mind that I want to create. And that one is a fall card. It's not so haunted Halloween. It's just a cutesy card. And I'm thinking I'll do it a different size though. So be sure to check back on my channel if you want to see how I create another one using totally different, especially if Halloween's not your thing, using totally different stamps and papers to create it and sizes. I'll have those measurements as well once I create the card. I have it in mind, I just haven't created it yet. I think you could create these, just about any size that you wanted and that your paper would accommodate. So once I have my banner glued down, you can see I'm going back and forth because I wasn't sure which part was going to touch the card and which part is going across my frame or across my window. So you want to be careful with that because you don't want to add glue and then it stick your card shut. So once I have everything glued down, then I'm just going to come back and I will trim off the excess that's hanging over the edges. I really love how all of these turned out. So here are 3 of the cards that I created. I've already given one away, so I've created 4 in total using this design, this Halloween theme. So here's just a little flip through of the 3 cards that I did create. Well, I hope you've enjoyed seeing me create this card. If you'd like to see how I use it in my journal, be sure to check back on my channel. If you subscribe, you'll be notified when I upload the flip through of these Halloween journals that I am working on. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.